Hi guys, it's Amy and you found Amy Loves Crochet. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate when you click on my videos. You know, I say that you have found Amy Loves Crochet because I really truly felt like if I was going to start my channel, it would just kind of be in the quiet backgrounds of nobody, and my subscribers just keep coming on through. So I appreciate you guys so very, very much for subscribing. If you click that bell down to all, you won't miss any time I upload a new video. I know you guys have heard that a million times before, but I sincerely appreciate you. I just wanted to share with you this week a finished wrap that I made out of my Mandala bonus bundle. This is a yarn by Lion Brands, and this cake is absolutely gorgeous. You've seen I had 4 of these from a purchase of a group of yarn and yarn supplies off of eBay that I purchased. And so these are really, really great. It's a 3-weight yarn and you get 1,181 yards. So there's quite a bit here. This colorway is called Golem, and it's just these absolutely beautiful purples and pinks and magentas and kind of, burgundy all the way through. It changes very, very nicely. So this is the 3rd cake that I've worked through. I have one left, you see there. And this is all that I have left from the project that I just finished. I do, however, have a little bit more from a previous project. So here's my scrap that I have to work with on top of the full cake that for some future project. So this project is one that I found from my crochet stitch guide. It's not the first time you've seen me work out of this book either. And the pattern that I made is called Clusters Aplenty. So it's a chain multiple of 11 and then you add 5. And I had made, when I started with this yarn, I started on a different pattern. And, if there's ever a time or a person who's going to encourage you to do a swatch or, some sort of a mini version of your big project, please do so. Like I continue to shout it from the rooftops when I'm done with a project where I goofed myself up because I didn't do that swatch. And you get done with 300 stitches or whatever, 300 chains, and you go through to start your first round or maybe your second round, and stuff isn't lining up because the pattern is a little bit wonky. Maybe you didn't read it right, whatever. You need to kind of get that rough draft done first so that your big one's going to work. So I got caught up in a wrong stitch count. I can't say what happened, whether it was me or the pattern, whatever, but it didn't work out. So I frogged all of that. It took quite a bit of time. But when I did settle on this pattern, I was very, very happy with it. And again, I just reached out. I think I had 300 stitches, 295, 280, something like that. I just stitched until it was the length that I wanted it to be this nice little wrap. I didn't know how big it was going to end up being, whether I needed to bring in some of my more of the scraps that I have or open up that cake, which, I would have gone to the scraps first, but I'm so pleased with how it turned out. So, ta-da! This is the way that the colorway played out. It really doesn't look like as many color changes as it does when you're looking at the cake. But I think it's very pretty. It's very simple. So if I have it around me, it's very, very large, very long and skinny. Like you could really have it as if you were, living in the really, really cold areas and needed to wrap up more, or it's big enough to go over your head if you were going to do a wrap like this, really big scarf or a really nice wrap. Work on this. This is a really, really good one. Like in the mornings when I first wake up, I could bust through like 2, maybe 3 rows at a time. So it was growing rather quickly. Whereas later in the day, I start to get, caught up with other things, or I'm thinking about other things, and I just don't crochet as much, as fast, as focused. Sometimes I had to do some ripping out, when I'm crocheting too late in the day. Today's tutorial is out of the Crochet Stitch Guide book that comes with 86 stitches. There's quite a few of these books, so if you're looking for this specific one, you want to find the one that says 86. And the pattern that we're working on today is called Clusters Aplenty. So here's what it's looking like. I did add a top row to bring this flush with all of the top rows of the clusters, but you don't have to do that as shown here in the picture. So just grab any yarn that you would like and its corresponding hook size, and let's get started. The pattern calls for a multiple of 11 plus 5, so I've got just 2 multiples here plus my 5. You can use this pattern for just about anything, a scarf, a blanket, a wrap like I did. So just use any yarn that you'd like and a corresponding hook size. Once you've got your chains, get your first row started with a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Here's the second chain from the hook. I'm going to do a single crochet and one in each one across. So if you like to work in the back bump, feel free to. If you like to do a foundation single crochet row, feel free to. It's completely up to you on how you get started. We just need a row of single crochets across. So I'll meet you at the end with my single crochets. Here we are at the end, and I've got my last single crochet put in there. So you should have one less single crochet than you did chains when you started. So now we're going to chain 5 and turn our work. This chain 5 is going to count as a double crochet plus a chain 2. So we're not going to count this first step or this first stitch, and we're going to skip 2, and then we're going to put in a single crochet. And then we are going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in that next stitch, without doing a chain 1, you're going to start our cluster. And a cluster is a double crochet that you stop halfway through and then start another double crochet, stop halfway through, and then complete all together. So it's kind of like when you do 2 together, a double crochet of 2 together. You start with 2 bases, but you have just 1 stitch on the top. And then we're going to do a chain 1, and you're going to repeat that until you've got, we want 5 cluster stitches all together. And you do a chain 1 after, or you do a chain 1 in between. We're not going to do one after the last cluster stitch. So there's 3 and a chain 1. We're going to do another cluster, starting a double crochet and stop, starting a double crochet and stop, and then you pull through all of them. And then a chain 1, and then we're going to finish off the group with a cluster. We're not going to put a chain 1 after that guy. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cluster stitches, and you have a chain 1 in between each one. So you have 4 chain stitches here. Okay, we're going to skip 3 more spaces so you can see we're worked into this one here. So we're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and in this next one we're going to do a single crochet. We're going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're just going to skip 2 stitches. We want a big round topper on this guy, and then we're going to do a single crochet. So you can see we've got the single crochet here. We've skipped these 2 stitches with our large 5 chains here. We're going down into this stitch, so it gives us a big, that's what gives us our spacing here. So after your single crochet, you're going to skip 3 stitches. We're worked into this one, so 1, 2, 3, and here we're going to work another cluster. So you just go straight into it without any chain 1s. You're going to do a double crochet where you stop in the middle, and then do another one where you stop in the middle, and then you pull through all 3 together. We're going to do a chain 1. We're going to do another cluster. Whoops. And we separate our cluster stitches with a chain 1, and we want a total of 5 cluster stitches. So do another one here, and my yarn, and a chain 1, another cluster, all 3 together, chain 1, and now our final cluster. And it'll get tight in there. You might have to scooch everybody over so that they can play together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cluster stitches with 1, 2, 3, 4 chain spaces that are just going in between. You don't have one in front or in back. Okay, and then we are going to skip 3 stitches. See, you're worked into this one. Skip 1, 2, 3. In here we're going to do a single crochet. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to skip these 2 stitches, and in the last stitch we're going to do a double crochet. So now our ends are going to match our double crochet with a chain 2 space, and the way we began with a chain 5, so this will act as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. Okay, and in between you've got these big cluster groups with your big chain of 5 in between. All right, okay, on to row 3. So for every row beginning, we're going to chain 5. That's going to act as our double crochet plus a chain 2 space. And row 3 is going to begin with a single crochet right in this chain space. All right, now we're going to do a chain 1. And what you want to do is find those spaces where you put your chain 1s, and we're going to do a single crochet into those spaces. So go into that space with a single crochet, and then we're going to chain 3, go into your next space with a single crochet, and we're going to chain 3, and go into your next space with a double crochet, chain 3, and then you need to anchor that guy with a single crochet in your last chain 1 space. So before we jump on to our chain 5, we've got to do a single crochet, and then we're going to anchor our chain 5 with a single crochet in that space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains. All right, and then you're going to put in another single crochet to anchor that guy down, and then a chain 1. So here's your 5 on top of your 5 each time. That's going to be our little ladder that goes through that center. All right, so now you're looking for your spaces, your chain 1 spaces in between. Make sure you count your 5 clusters, and you should have those 4 chain 1 spaces in between. So you've already done a chain 1. You did a single crochet into this, and then you did a chain 1. So now we're going to go into each of those spaces with a single crochet, chain 3, find your next space to put in a single crochet, and then chain 3, find your next space, single crochet, chain 3, and then you're going to anchor it all down here in that last chain 1 space. Whoops. So that you've got 3 spots here, 3 chain spaces. All right, and then you do a chain 1 before you come to your end. You're going to do a single crochet in your space. You're going to do 2 chains, and then you're going to find that 3rd chain to anchor your double crochet into. You can either count from the bottom or count over from the top. You can use a stitch marker all the way along. But this is what your work should be looking like. And as many repeats as you did, yours might look a little bit wider than mine, but this would even be fine for a scarf if you're following mine exactly. That's perfect width for a scarf. And as you go into your next round and crochet your next piece, when you anchor that one, you'll see that your edge gets a little straighter. Don't worry about it at this stage, because part of crochet is when you work into the next row, and it helps pull everything taut. So we're going to continue with round 4 now. We are going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn your work. And you're going to start always with a single crochet in this first space. Oops. And now we're on our cluster rows, and for our cluster rows, we do not do spaces or chains in front of or behind the cluster rows at all. Okay, we're only going to do chain spaces in the main cluster. So from here where you've done your single crochet here, you're going to jump to the middle of those chain 3 spaces, and you're going to start your cluster. So just yarn over like you're going to do your double crochet and stop halfway through. Yarn over and do another double crochet, but stop halfway through. And you've got those 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through everything, and then do a chain 1. And you're going to repeat that until you have 5 clusters in this chain space, all in that same chain space. You have 5 clusters with a chain 1 space in between each of the clusters. So you'll have 5 clusters and you'll have 4 chain 1 spaces. So there's 4 clusters, 1 more chain, scoot it over because they get tight in there, and then do your other cluster, your last cluster for this grouping, pull through all of them, and that's your 5 clusters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you've got a chain 1 space in between each of those. No chain 1s in before or after the cluster, just in the middle of the cluster. Okay, so then just the same through our chain 5 section, you're going to anchor with a single crochet and then chain 5, 3, 4. My yarn is getting tight. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chains, and then you're going to anchor again for your single crochet, and then you jump right over into that middle chain space. You're not going to do any chain 1s at all first. We don't put any chain 1s in front or behind the clusters, just in the middle of the cluster. So in this middle chain 3 space, just start yarning over and working on your first double crochet cluster, chain 1, the second one in that same spot, in that same space. This is what gives your fan appearance when you're putting so many crochets into the same double crochets into the same space. It gives you this sort of fan appearance. So in this case that we're using cluster stitches because that's what the pattern calls for. And our final double crochet there. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clusters with a chain 1 space in between them. So you've got 4 chain 1 spaces, no chain 1s here, and we're not going to do a chain 1 here. So you're at your end spot. You're going to do a single crochet, and then we're going to do a chain 2, and then we find our 3rd chain. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do a double crochet. All right, and that's going to anchor your edge down, and as we do the next round, it will keep, it'll keep that all in line. So here's what you're looking like so far. The chain 5 section just continues to look the same, but then for this section we alternate on rows 3 and 4 whether we're going to do clusters or we're going to do the chain rows that they fit into. So let's do our repeat starting with row 3. Come on, and we're going to do chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now on the next go around, when we come back to the edge of this round, we're going to need that 3rd chain to do our double crochet into. So if you're one who wants to use a stitch marker, feel free to do so. 1, 2, 3 into that 3rd chain, and that'll help you keep from forgetting that we need to put a stitch in there. So we're always going to start with a single crochet down into that space, and then this is going to be the row that we make the chains across here. So we are going to start with a chain 1, and then what you want to do is find your little chain 1 spaces in here. So you'll do a single crochet into that spot, and then chain 3, and find your next little chain 1 spot here, put a single crochet and a chain 3, 2, 3, find your next spot, single crochet, 1, 2, and 3, and then into the last one here you secure that with another single crochet. We've got our 3 chain spaces here, and we're going to put our next round, we're going to put our cluster in the middle of those 3. So we're going to do a chain 1 here before we jump over to our 5 Anchor it with a single crochet, and then chain 5. 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to put it back down with a single crochet. So that part never changes. We do that all the way through the pattern. Don't forget your chain 1 before you start your chain spaces here. Find your first cluster, your chain 1 space. You're going to do a single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Find your next cluster space, single crochet. 1, 2, 3. Your next one, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, and your final single crochet to anchor them. There's your 3. We're going to work into the middle one on the next round. So this row does get a chain 1 in between or before and after your work here. When you're at your end section, you're going to put a single crochet into that space. You're going to do a chain 2, and then we're going to find our third chain and do the double crochet. We marked the other side, not this one. All right, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mark that third one if you want to. You're going to come around here, put a single crochet in the space. No chains now. We're going into the cluster stitch, or the clusters, and we're going to put that into the middle one here, and we are not going to do a chain 1 first. So just start to yarn over and do your double crochet clusters. There's your first one with a chain 1. Your second one with a chain 1, and start to scoot them over. We know we're going to need a little more space in there. There's your third cluster, chain 1. Here's your fourth cluster with a chain 1, and then we're going to end it with a cluster. No more chain 1s after that. No chain 1s before or after the cluster, just in the cluster. And then jump way over to the center here where you've got your chain 5s going. You'll do a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another single crochet into that space. No chains here. We're going to just jump right into the middle one here. Start our cluster. 2 double crochets unfinished, then do it together. Chain 1. Here's our next cluster. 2 double crochets unfinished. Chain 1. 2 double crochets unfinished, do it together, chain 1. And whoops, we've got one more here, and I always double check if you get to the next round and you don't have your chains count correct to put your cluster in the middle, then it's because you didn't do enough clusters here. Like if I were to accidentally stop right now, I'm only going to have 2 chain 2 spaces, so I won't have enough to create my correct cluster. So make sure you're double checking so that you don't have to frog out work on the next row. My last cluster, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They each have a chain 1 space between them so that I can do my chains on the next round. We are not going to do a chain here. You're just going to jump right into your space with a single crochet and then chain 2. And here's where you've marked your third chain already, so it's easy peasy to do your double crochet into that spot. All right. And that is how the project works up. We're going to add a border to this so that it's kind of a finished edge and matches the start of the project. So the way that I approach this is that we need your repeat of 11 throughout, and then the edges sometimes have a different count. So what I've got is 7, and then our repeat of 11, and then 7. So this is just how I did it. Obviously you are free to add stitches or take away stitches as you see fit. So what I did was on this very first double crochet here, I started with a slip stitch, and it's might be a little bit fiddly to get into, but you just go right on in there. And then we're going to do a chain of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 5 so far. I need 2 more. What we're going to do is find our middle cluster. here's the cluster, and then there's the middle, and we're going to pick up also the chain 1 on either side of it. So into the first chain 1 I'm going to do a slip stitch, and into the middle cluster I'm going to do a slip stitch, and that accounts for my 7 on this end. Okay, so then to begin our 11 count, for as wide as your blanket is, this is what you're going to count: 11, 11, 11. The chain 1 that's sitting on the other side of that middle cluster, that's going to be your first slip stitch. And then I chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then right into the chain space. I mean, you can always go into the stitches if you want to, but I just went into the chain space for 3 single crochets, and then another 3 chains, and then you're at your clusters again. So you're going to find that middle cluster, and this first single crochet, this first chain 1 is going to be your 11th stitch for your repeat on this border that we're doing. So from the how you want to say it, so the middle cluster was here. This is the first chain 1 stitch that's to its left. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Whoops, I'm out of frame here, sorry. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and here's 11. Okay, so repeat that all the way across your blanket. You'll go from the first chain 1 space after the cluster, you'll do a slip stitch, and then you'll do 3 chains, and then you'll do 3 single crochets in your ladder here, your big 5 chainers, and then you'll do another 3 chains, and then you'll slip stitch into the first chain 1 on the side of the clusters. Okay, so now we're at the end of the blanket or the scarf or whatever you're working on here, and we're going to do 7 to end this row as well. So in your middle cluster is going to be a slip stitch, as well as that chain 1 that sits just to its side. Those are your first 2, and then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 chains, and then find your third chain here that would be like the top of your double crochet, and we're going to slip stitch there. Okay, and that is going to give your project a chained looking border, but it is a border nonetheless. If you feel like these are a little bit tight, I mean, I guess you could put another single crochet in here. I did not. I stuck with my 11 count. So from here, all you need to do is a chain 1 and turn, and then do a single crochet all the way back along. That's what I did for my blanket here, or my wrap, to give it just a little bit of a finished look there, little single crochet border. And that is it. All right, guys, thanks so much for being interested in the project. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye-bye. I hope everybody's doing well. Have a wonderfully blessed day, and I hope you'll come back and see me again. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.